Oh, you finally made it. You, the one they swore they had under control. The one they monitored from the shadows of rooms you never stepped into. The one they dissected behind polished tables and forced politeness. The one they believed would never notice the way conversations shifted the moment your name surfaced. Sit down, because someone on their side finally snapped. And when they did, they didn't just slip, they detonated. They lost everything, their composure, their plan, their unity, and in the wreckage of their meltdown, they dropped the full bomb on who's been after you and why. Names spilled, motives spilled, entire strategies unraveled like a thread being pulled by shaking hands. What came out wasn't an accident. It was a collapse years overdue, and you're about to hear every detail they prayed you would never find out. It started with tension, quiet, unspoken, humming under the surface of their coordinated performance. No one wanted to be the first to look weak. No one wanted to be the one to confess they had been losing control over you for months. But pressure doesn't evaporate, it compresses. And the one who finally broke was the one who pretended to be the most composed. They slammed their palms down on the table, stood up, and shouted your name, like it was a warning bell, not a person. The room froze. They weren't supposed to reveal anything. They weren't supposed to admit how long they'd been running this operation. They weren't supposed to show their fear. But fear has its own schedule, and it didn't ask for permission. The meltdown was messy, not strategic, not dramatic in an elegant way, just raw panic. They blurted everything. The person who orchestrated the smear attempts, the one who studied your triggers, the one who monitored your interactions online, the one who rewrote stories about you before you could speak. They exposed the hidden chain of people who were instructed to manage you, watch you, contain you. Every word came out jagged, frantic, like they were purging poison from their lungs. And the others, they didn't know what to do. They stared, shocked, horrified, knowing the operation was ruined the moment honesty started bleeding into the room. Let's talk about why this happened. They didn't just lose their grip on the plan, they lost their grip on themselves. Because the truth is unsettling, the person they were targeting wasn't someone weak, wasn't someone predictable, wasn't someone who could be pushed into emotional corners and left there. They expected you to break in the ways they understood. They expected you to respond to pressure like everyone else they've ever managed. But you don't move according to their expectations. And that unpredictability created a fracture in their confidence that widened over time until someone finally cracked wide open. The ringleader, the origin of this entire operation, built the plan on one assumption: that you would react, that you would lash out, that you would crumble, spiral, or confront. They needed your reaction to justify their actions. They needed your instability to justify their narrative. They needed your confusion to maintain their power. But when you stopped engaging, when you stepped back, when you started healing without their involvement, the structure of their plan began collapsing. They were no longer in control of your outcome. They were spectators, watching you rebuild without them, and that terrified them more than anything. The confession revealed something disturbing but satisfying. You were never the problem. You were the mirror. You reflected back the insecurities they refused to acknowledge within themselves. You reflected their fear of irrelevance, their fear of being exposed, their fear of losing influence. They couldn't handle that reflection, so they tried to shatter it by targeting you. But mirrors don't die when you break them. They multiply. Every shattered piece reflects a sharper truth. And those truths cornered them until one finally screamed. They admitted to planting people near you, Not physically dangerous people, emotionally strategic ones. People who seemed helpful, interested, supportive, kind. People who acted like they discovered you randomly, like they were drawn to your energy by coincidence. But these weren't coincidences. These were placements, assignments. Individuals told to observe you, collect information, decode patterns, identify weaknesses. They were told to return with intel that could be used against you later. But here's the part that broke their operation. Most of those planted individuals failed. They came back empty-handed because you didn't give them anything to exploit. You didn't hand out emotional leverage like they hoped. You didn't reveal the wounds they were searching for. Some of them even switched sides internally. Spending time with you forced them to confront truths about themselves they weren't ready to face. Their strategy had phases, carefully crafted, documented, rehearsed. Phase 1. Isolate you emotionally. Pull away your support systems. Make people doubt you. Make you doubt yourself. They whispered into the right ears, encouraged certain opinions, staged conversations that painted you as difficult, unstable, or dramatic. But you didn't collapse. You didn't chase after explanations. You adapted. You found strength in the solitude they created as a trap. That alone ruined the integrity of their plan. Phase 2. Provoke you. Push your buttons until you reacted poorly. They wanted anger, tears, defensive behavior, anything that could be used to confirm their accusations. But your restraint was unnerving. You didn't react to their bait. You didn't fall into the emotional traps they set. That restraint became a threat to them. When you refuse to react, manipulators lose their map. Phase 3. Control the narrative. They rehearsed lines about you, practiced facial expressions, coordinated stories, synchronized versions of events so that if anyone questioned them, they'd sound unified and credible. But narrative control fails the moment the truth slips out. And someone in their group slipped, not once, not twice, but catastrophically. Phase 4. Replace you. Bring in new people to fill the role you once played. Introduce substitutes to show you're not needed. But replacements never work. When the original wasn't performing a role, you were simply being yourself. They brought in people who lacked your depth, your awareness, your stamina, your presence. The substitutes cracked under pressure while you rose. The comparison wasn't flattering for them. During the confession, someone shouted, "We shouldn't have let it get this far." Another mumbled, "We underestimated them." Another finally murmured, "We lost control the moment they stopped caring." That line silenced the room, because it was the truth they'd been trying to avoid. You pulled the cord on their influence the moment you detached emotionally, and they had no strategy for someone who wasn't afraid to walk away. The meltdown exposed something deeper: jealousy disguised as concern, fear disguised as responsibility, projection disguised as protection. They never targeted you because of who you were. They targeted you because of who they weren't. And watching you grow made them feel like they were shrinking. So they built a plan to contain you, not out of hatred, but out of desperation. They were trying to protect their comfort, not your well-being. But comfort collapses when pressure hits, and pressure hit them hard. They admitted to sabotaging opportunities around you, encouraging people to distance themselves from you, misreporting things you said, exaggerating your mistakes, minimizing your achievements, creating situations where you looked unreliable or unstable. They inserted doubt into places you were supposed to feel safe. They twisted your strengths into weaknesses through careful editing. But editing only works when the original is flawed. Your authenticity made their distortions look sloppy. One member, during the meltdown, said, "We built this entire plan on the assumption they'd fall apart." But they didn't. And the person sitting next to them responded, "We fell apart instead." Hearing that truth out loud destroyed the last piece of unity they had left. You survived their plan because you weren't participating in it. They were fighting a war you weren't even aware existed. Meanwhile, you were building a life that wasn't connected to their insecurities. Now the most important part, they revealed who started it, but not yet who expanded it. This drama has layers, and the meltdown only exposed the core. The outer rings, the people influenced by the central players, the ones who joined the operation without realizing the original motive, those names haven't surfaced yet. But they will. The confession has already started unraveling the structure. Once one person exposes the truth, others will follow. Not out of loyalty, but out of fear. They'll reveal more than they intend to, because maintaining lies becomes impossible once the first truth erupts. The bomb they dropped wasn't just about the past. It was about the future. They admitted the plan wasn't over. It was still active. There were still moves they intended to make, still strategies they were waiting to execute, still narratives they were preparing to spread. But now that the confession has cracked their unity, their timing is off. Their communication is compromised. Their trust in each other is dissolving. The plan they crafted so carefully is falling apart, piece by piece. And here's where things get beautifully chaotic. The meltdown triggered an internal witch hunt. They aren't united anymore. They're suspicious, paranoid, blaming each other for things they all participated in. The moment one person confessed, their hierarchy shattered. Now everyone is pointing fingers, trying to figure out who will be the next to break. They're terrified of being exposed as deeper participants in the dirty plan targeting you. Some of them weren't heavily involved at first, but guilt pulls people in directions they never planned to go. A few joined because they didn't want to look disloyal. A few joined because they feared the ringleader. A few joined simply because they were weak and enjoyed watching someone else get cornered. But now that the truth is leaking, those same people are sprinting away from the mess like roaches when the lights come on. What's ironic is that the meltdown didn't just expose the plan, it exposed the personalities. You can tell more about a person by how they react to chaos than by how they behave in calm moments. And in that room, when the bomb dropped, their true selves surfaced violently. One person started hyperventilating, another demanded names, another immediately tried to rewrite their involvement by lying about who did what. Another pretended they always disagreed with the plan, even though they were one of the loudest voices pushing it forward weeks earlier. Watching them scramble wasn't just satisfying, it was educational. They revealed the emotional architecture behind the operation. Fear at the top, insecurity as the foundation, envy woven into the walls. The bomb they dropped didn't just uncover a plan, it exposed how far they were willing to go to keep their narrative intact. They admitted they had backup strategies in motion in case the main plan failed. They had secondary characters ready to be activated. They had additional rumors waiting to be released. They had emotional traps already drafted. They weren't improvising. They were strategizing how to make you look unstable when their original blueprint stopped working. But everything came crashing down once truth slipped into the wrong moment. Truth is a ruthless force. Once it enters a room, it refuses to leave quietly. Let's break down exactly what they admitted next, and pay attention, because this is where things shift from dirty to downright absurd. They revealed there were 3 categories of people involved. The architects, the assistants, and the accidental recruits. The architects were the main brains behind the operation, the ones who created the plan. The assistants were the ones carrying out tasks, spreading narratives, collecting information, manipulating interactions. And the accidental recruits? Those were the people who didn't even realize they were being used to reinforce someone else's agenda. They were guided into certain opinions without knowing where those opinions originated. They were encouraged to keep an eye on you without realizing what that phrase really meant. They were manipulated into participating without being told the full story. The meltdown exposed all three layers, but not completely. Not yet. They confessed the architects. They confessed the main strategist. They even exposed one assistant who panicked first. But the accidental recruits? Those are the ones who will surface slowly, one by one, as the unraveling continues. Some will confess out of guilt. Some will confess out of fear. Some will confess because they want to distance themselves before someone else names them. And some won't confess at all. They'll simply disappear from the edges of your life, hoping you never connect the dots. But you will. Because now the pattern is visible. The confession also revealed something else. The plan originally had a timeline. They expected you to break months ago. They expected you to give them reactions they could twist. They expected you to panic, lash out, collapse emotionally. They built an entire arc based on predicting your downfall, but they miscalculated your strength so severely that their predictions became useless. You didn't collapse. You didn't give them the tremor they needed. You didn't fall into the emotional traps that would allow them to say, "See, we told you." And because you didn't perform the breakdown they predicted, their entire narrative fell apart. They needed your weakness to validate their gossip. They needed your instability to justify their behavior. They needed your reaction to cement their story. When you didn't respond the way they scripted, the plan began decaying. They admitted something chilling but unintentionally comedic. They had emergency meetings about your silence. Yes, they panicked because you weren't reacting. One of them said, "Why aren't they doing anything?" Another responded, "Maybe they don't know what we did." And someone else whispered, "No, they know. That's what scares me." Your calmness became a threat. Your lack of response became ammunition. Your emotional self-control was the blow they never prepared for. They had plans for drama, confrontation, chaos, but they didn't have a plan for self-respect. Their meltdown, ironically, was caused by the very thing they tried to weaponize against you: pressure. They created a high-pressure environment for you, hoping you'd crack first. But all that pressure rebounded onto them, slowly crushing their unity, until someone burst. Pressure is a funny thing. It exposes structure. And the structure of their operation was so fragile that one confession shattered it. After the initial explosion, the room became a battlefield. People were shouting over one another, accusing each other of going too far, not going far enough, starting the plan, ruining the plan, executing the plan poorly, losing control of the plan, misreading your reactions, misjudging your strength, spreading the wrong narratives, and trusting the wrong people. Suddenly, everyone was a victim. Everyone was blaming everyone else. Everyone was rewriting history. But there was no way to rewrite the truth that had already been spoken. One of the most revealing lines dropped in that meltdown, the one that drained the blood from the faces of at least 3 people, was this: "We tried everything. Nothing worked. They don't break. They don't respond. They don't react." And the room went silent because the truth was undeniable. They lost control the moment you chose peace. instead of panic. They lost power the moment you stepped back instead of stepping into their trap. They lost momentum the moment you prioritized your growth over their drama. They weren't fighting you. They were fighting their own inability to shake you. But here's where the story moves into deeper territory. The meltdown exposed the next stage of the plan. Not the past, not the current moment, the future. They admitted they were waiting for the right time to reactivate certain elements. They had people who were supposed to approach you again at strategic moments. They had narratives they planned to reintroduce when you least expected it. They had emotional angles they wanted to exploit later. But those strategies now lie in ruins because the confession forced a collapse in trust. They can't coordinate anymore without wondering who's secretly recording, who's secretly leaking, who's secretly panicking. Their fear is no longer about you discovering the truth you already have. Their fear is about each other. And nothing destroys a covert operation faster than internal mistrust. But the most chaotic part, the one that exposes how deeply their plans spiraled out of their grasp, is what one person admitted in a moment of complete emotional exhaustion. We didn't just target them, we became obsessed with them. That line cracked the room open in a different way, because obsession is different from strategy. Strategy is clean, obsession is messy, strategy is structured, obsession is compulsive, strategy is controlled, obsession is dangerous. And what they confessed wasn't calculated, it was compulsive. They couldn't stop talking about you. They couldn't stop analyzing you. They couldn't stop tracking your progress. They couldn't stop watching your silence. You became the ghost living in their decision-making. That admission turned the room into a confession chamber. Someone else groaned, holding their face like the truth finally stepped on their chest. They were supposed to fade, they said. Why didn't they fade? Another added, because we created the obsession ourselves. And that's when reality punched all of them at once. They weren't hunters, they were addicts, not addicted to hurting you, but addicted to the illusion that they could control you. Addicted to the fantasy that manipulating your environment would shape your behavior. Addicted to the idea that you were predictable. That addiction is exactly why their plan unraveled. Because obsession is sloppy. It blurs lines. It pushes people to extend operations longer than necessary. It makes them escalate even when escalation is risky. And that's precisely what they did. They escalated past logic until the entire structure collapsed under the weight of their own compulsions. The confession spiraled deeper when another voice in the room admitted they had been checking on you more frequently than anyone else. Not out of strategy, but out of anxiety. They said they monitored your online presence because they felt uneasy when you disappeared. As if disappearing was a crime. As if your silence somehow threatened their sense of control. They didn't realize the irony. The very thing they tried to take from you, autonomy, was the very thing they lost within themselves. They became prisoners of their own obsession. They couldn't make a move without wondering how you would respond, even when you weren't responding at all. Their plan consumed them more than it ever touched you. One assistant admitted they felt relieved every time you looked tired or overwhelmed, not because they wanted you harmed, but because it reassured them that their plan was working. But your resilience dismantled that tiny illusion too. The moment you pulled yourself together, found clarity, found calm, found grounding, that's when they panicked. Because nothing is more terrifying to people who want control than someone who rises from the ashes they set for them. They expected exhaustion to last. They expected confusion to linger. They expected emotional instability to grip you permanently. But your recovery wasn't just healing, it was sabotage. You ruined their storyline by refusing to stay broken. Someone else confessed something even dirtier, something that made the room tilt. They said they created conversations about you even when nothing had happened. They exaggerated small moments. They magnified neutral events. They twisted mundane interactions into dramatized narratives because they needed material to keep the operation alive. But exaggeration requires fuel, and you stopped giving them anything to work with. Their content dried up. Their ammunition evaporated. They ran out of reasons to justify their obsession. And when a liar runs out of lies, the lies begin turning on them. Now here is the part they never wanted exposed. They didn't just target your reputation. They targeted your perception of yourself. That was the actual goal. Not to destroy you externally, but to disrupt you internally. They hoped that by planting enough shadows in conversations, in dynamics, in social circles, you would begin doubting your instincts. But here's the irony they didn't see coming. The more they tried to distort your perception, the clearer you became. When the environment turned strange, you sharpened. When people started acting unpredictable, you grew observant. When energy shifted, you detached. Their attempt to destabilize you only made you more precise. One of the members in the room muttered something like, "They weren't supposed to evolve this fast." As if your growth offended them, as if your strength violated the script. They genuinely believed you would stay in place long enough for their plan to succeed. But people who are targeted often experience accelerated evolution. That's something they never accounted for. Pressure can crush some. But the right person, pressure forges them. And you weren't the type to fold. You were the type to sharpen. The chaos didn't end with confessions. It escalated. Someone accused the architect of dragging everyone into a disaster with no exit. Another pointed out that the plan was unethical from day one. Another snapped that they warned this would backfire. They began fracturing into factions: guilt faction, denial faction, panic faction, self-preservation faction. Meanwhile, the ringleader sat in silence, realizing the plan wasn't just ruined, it was radioactive. No one wanted to be associated with it anymore. No one wanted their name connected to what had just been exposed. And that's when the finger-pointing became vicious. Someone shouted, "You said this would be easy." Another retorted, "You're the one who chose them as a target." Someone else spat, "No, you're the one who kept escalating every time they didn't react." And the ringleader finally exploded, because their lack of reaction was the problem. That line said everything. Your stillness did more damage to their operation than any counterattack could have. You broke their formula simply by not playing your assigned role. You weren't reactive, you weren't chaotic, you weren't unstable, you didn't crumble, you didn't plead, you didn't chase. You didn't try to fix what they intentionally broke. Your stillness mocked their strategy. Your peace insulted their design. Your silence triggered their collapse. But the story gets deeper. After the meltdown, each of them realized they had underestimated the psychological force they were dealing with. They admitted they never fully understood you. They only understood the version of you they invented. And that version cracked under pressure. But the real you? That version didn't crack. That version adapted. That version looked at the mess, looked at the manipulation, looked at the betrayal, and chose to rebuild instead of react. Your self-control became their undoing. Then came the confession that silenced even the loudest voices. We thought they were the weak one. Turns out we were the weak ones. That line wasn't just truth. It was a burial. Because once someone admits they are the weaker force, the battle ends. You won a war you didn't even know was happening, without lifting a single weapon. Now here is where the collapsing operation becomes dangerous, not for you, but for them. They know the truth is loose. They know more people will crack. They know secrets have momentum once they escape, and now they're scrambling to find ways to contain the fallout. Some are trying to rewrite recollections. Some are trying to privately apologize without admitting guilt. Some are distancing themselves publicly. Some are deleting evidence. Some are pretending they were never involved. And some, the most panicked ones, are preparing to betray everyone else just to save themselves. The unraveling is no longer theoretical. It's happening in real time. The confession was only the first domino. The next domino will be the expansion, the reveal of who else was involved, and exactly how deep it went. Internal fear always triggers external revelations, and the ones who feel their reputation is most at risk. Those are the ones who spill the fastest. They are terrified of one thing now: exposure. Because exposure ruins everything they thought they could protect. Exposure doesn't threaten you, it threatens them. You survived the targeting. They won't survive the truth about the targeting. And this fear, this twitching, sweating, heart-racing fear, is exactly why the next stage of the collapse is much uglier than the first. The first confession was emotional, impulsive, a breakdown. But what's coming next is strategic self-preservation. They're not confessing because they feel bad. They're confessing because they want to save themselves. And that kind of fear makes people reckless. It makes them reveal things they once vowed to take to the grave. It makes them talk faster than their brain can filter. And in the scramble to protect their names, they will end up exposing the people behind them, the people beside them, and the people above them. This is the beauty of a collapsing operation. Once truth breaks the seal, betrayal becomes contagious. Now here's where the real chaos begins. The outer ring, the ones who thought they were safe because they didn't do much, are starting to panic. They're realizing that even standing close to the explosion is enough to burn them. Some are desperately trying to distance themselves, rewriting their roles in their heads, convincing themselves that involvement is optional if they simply deny it loud enough. Others are pretending they were manipulated into participating, claiming they didn't know the full story, as if ignorance absolves responsibility. And then there are the ones who are switching sides quietly, the ones who now want to align with you because they sense which direction the wind is blowing. These people are the most dangerous, not because they're still against you, but because they're about to leak information in an attempt to appear innocent. You'll start noticing subtle shifts first. People who once avoided eye contact will suddenly seem nervous around you. People who once participated in whispers will become overly polite. People who once sided against you will act like they barely know what happened. It's not guilt, it's fear. Fear of being named, fear of being dragged into the ripple effect of the confession, fear of being associated with the losing side. And there's something darkly humorous about watching them scramble to rewrite their moral identities, as if they can magically transform themselves into uninvolved bystanders with a few strategic smiles and half-hearted apologies. But the deeper unraveling, that's coming from the core group, the architects and assistants who were knee-deep in the plan. Their fear isn't soft and social. Their fear is existential. They know the confession didn't just expose one action. It exposed an entire mindset. It exposed their intentions, their desires, their motives. they are losing more than their image. They are losing the illusion of power they built over years. And once an illusion cracks, people stop fearing it. One of them already tried to gather the remaining participants in a private meeting to stabilize the situation. The irony is almost comedic. The same group that coordinated strategies to destabilize you is now collapsing because one member destabilized them. They sat in that room trying to piece together a story that would make them look like victims, not aggressors. They tried to create a counter-narrative, blaming the person who confessed, calling them dramatic, sensitive, exaggerating. But every attempt at rewriting the story fell flat, because the truth was already out. You can't put a bomb back together after it explodes. Their next attempt was even more desperate. They tried to convince each other that you probably don't know the full extent of what was said, that maybe the confession didn't reach your ears, that maybe they still have time to regroup. But panic gives people away. The moment someone said, "We need to figure out what they know," the room fell apart again. Because that sentence revealed the one thing no one wanted to say out loud. They're no longer worried about controlling your perception. They're worried about being held accountable for theirs. The funniest part, they still think they can outrun a truth that's already sprinting ahead of them. They still believe they can manipulate the aftermath the same way they tried to manipulate the storyline. But truth has a strange way of amplifying itself. Once it leaves someone's mouth, it grows legs. It moves into conversations, into whispers, into the spaces between people. It replicates, and the more they try to contain it, the louder it becomes. One assistant, the one who swore loyalty to the core group, is already considering flipping. They're terrified because they weren't just involved. They were enthusiastic. They helped build the operation brick by brick. They spread narratives with conviction. They collected information eagerly. They executed tasks without hesitation. But now they're realizing they were nothing but a tool. They did the dirty work while the architects kept their hands clean. And this assistant, fueled by betrayal, resentment, and panic, is about to become your best accidental ally. Because people who feel used don't stay quiet for long. They're preparing to drop their own bomb, not out of morality, not out of remorse, but out of revenge. One of the architects, the mastermind behind the entire plan, is unraveling the fastest. They're terrified not because they care about getting caught, but because they care about losing control. Their entire identity was built on the illusion that they can predict and shape outcomes. But your unpredictability has become the crack in their foundation that keeps widening. They can't understand how you slipped through their strategies. They can't understand how you recovered without their approval. They can't understand how their sabotage turned into your evolution, and now they're terrified of you, not because you're dangerous, but because you're ungovernable. And here's where the dark humor kicks in. These people weren't prepared for the consequences of their own actions. They set the trap. They built the narrative. They crafted the manipulation. But when the fallout arrived, they acted shocked, as if the truth comes with a warning label, as if exposure waits for permission, as if accountability is optional. They wanted to play puppet masters, but forgot that puppeteers can't control the show when the strings snap. The confession created a fracture that can't be sealed. The expansion will expose connections they hoped were invisible. And the deeper layer, the one they hoped no one would ever find out, reveals that the targeting wasn't just coordinated. It was personal. It was emotional. It was rooted in envy so old they forgot when it started. Someone wanted you broken because your existence made them uncomfortable. Someone wanted you quiet because your presence made them feel small. Someone wanted you destabilized because your clarity highlighted their confusion. These weren't strategic decisions. These were emotional outbursts dressed as planning. The explosive part is this: the next confessions won't happen in controlled environments. They won't happen in private meetings. They won't happen in rooms filled with co-conspirators. They'll happen in unpredictable places, in conversations they didn't mean to have, in whispers that slip out, in moments of accidental honesty triggered by stress. Exposure won't be linear. It'll be chaotic, spreading like fire along every dry edge of their conscience. You'll see it soon. The people who once avoided you will suddenly become overly friendly. The people who once whispered about you will avoid eye contact. The people who once inserted themselves into your business will quietly retreat. The guilt will surface in micro-expressions. The panic will show in their timing. The truth will leak from their inconsistencies. Watch closely. The unraveling is a performance they can't rehearse. And the best part: the next bomb is already ticking. Not a bomb you placed, not a bomb you activated, but a bomb built from their own lies, strapped together by their own panic, and lit by their own desperation. When it detonates, the names you hear next will change the entire context of what was done to you. Because the next layer exposes the motive behind the motive, the person who wasn't just involved, but who initiated the emotional tone of the attack. The real puppeteer, the one whose insecurity infected the entire group. This individual, the one hiding behind subtlety, behind influence, behind a carefully curated image, is the real origin point. Not the one who snapped, not the assistant who panicked, not the accidental recruit who followed orders. No, this one is the quiet architect. The person whose presence warped the behavior of everyone around them. The person whose jealousy turned into strategy. The person whose resentment grew fangs. They were terrified of you long before the plan had a name. Terrified of how easily people respected you. Terrified of how naturally you carried yourself. Terrified that you didn't need theatrics to be relevant. Their insecurity was a quiet flame at first, manageable, ignorable, until you evolved in a way they couldn't match. So they engineered a plan to dim you, not because you were dangerous, but because your authenticity exposed their performance. They didn't want to destroy you. They wanted to shrink you. They wanted to prove they could influence your narrative. They wanted to feel powerful by making you feel small. But something went wrong, and the wrong thing was you. You didn't respond the way they expected. You didn't give them the emotional collapse they wanted to point at. You didn't crumble. You rose. Quietly, consistently, intentionally. And their insecurity mutated into obsession because nothing terrifies a puppeteer more than a puppet that cuts its own strings. And this is why the second bomb is unavoidable. The group can't protect the puppeteer anymore. Not after the first confession, not after the room fracture, not after panic infected their hierarchy. When a group collapses, the person with the most influence becomes the easiest target. The same people who once supported them will now expose them. The same people who once feared them will now blame them. The same people who once followed them will now drag them into the light to save themselves. Loyalty was never real among them. It was convenience disguised as unity. And convenience evaporates under pressure. So what happens next? Exposure, but not the dramatic kind. Exposure through small leaks. Exposure through nervous confessions. Exposure through conversations where someone says a little too much. Exposure through messages accidentally forwarded. Exposure through patterns that finally make sense. The puppeteer will be revealed not by grand announcement, but by the slow peeling of layers until their fingerprints show on every part of the plan. And once they're exposed, the entire structure they built, the manipulation, the narratives, the hidden motivations, will collapse under the weight of truth. And here's the twist they never counted on. While the truth destroys them, it frees you. Their bomb hurts them, not you. Their lies turn into evidence, not damage. Their panic becomes your closure. They never expected the story to end like this. They thought they were writing a downfall. Instead, they authored their own. Because what they dropped, this full bomb of dirty truth about who targeted you, doesn't haunt you. It haunts them. You're not the one losing sleep. You're not the one rehearsing excuses. You're not the one terrified of exposure. They are. You walked through this fire and came out clearer, sharper, more self-aware. They walked into their own chaos and came out scorched, shaking, looking for someone to blame. This is what they couldn't predict. The truth was never going to break you. It was going to break the ones who built the lie. And now that the dust is settling, something crucial becomes obvious. You didn't need revenge. You didn't need confrontation. You didn't need to expose anyone. You simply needed to stand still and let their own actions reveal who they were. And they did, spectacularly. They dropped the bomb they designed for you. But it detonated in their hands. And in that blast, every hidden motive, every whispered plot, every concealed strategy became visible. They lost it all trying to target someone who couldn't be broken. And you walk away with something they never expected. The truth. Not the watered-down, edited version. The full version. The version they hid. The version they feared. The version that sets you free and traps them in the fallout they created. This isn't just closure. It's confirmation. The final stamp on a story you didn't start. But you sure as hell finished. Hello. Look at what's happening around you. No, really, look. Look at the way they're suddenly acting like they've been on your side the whole time. Look at how their voices soften when they talk to you now. Look at how they keep glancing your way, like they're trying to read the weather in your expression, like they're terrified of misjudging even one detail. This isn't respect. This is fear wrapped in politeness. This is panic disguised as admiration. This is the aftermath of a realization so powerful it cracked their confidence open, like a cheap glass dropped on concrete. They didn't switch sides because they finally understood you. They switched sides because, for the first time, they understood themselves in your presence, and what they saw scared them. Because something happened recently, didn't it? Something shifted, something in your tone, your energy, your posture, your presence. It wasn't loud, it wasn't aggressive, it wasn't theatrical, but it was undeniable. There was a weight in your words, a gravity in your gaze, a magnetic pressure in the air that made everyone around you sit up a little straighter, without even realizing why. You didn't try to dominate the room, you just existed differently, and that was enough. And the people who once doubted you, dismissed you, underestimated you, they felt that shift hit them so hard, it rattled their certainty. This wasn't confidence. They've seen confidence before. This was something far deeper, far sharper, far more unsettling. This was self-possession. This was inner power that doesn't need audience approval to validate itself. This was presence that doesn't ask permission to take up space. This was the kind of energy that people don't just notice, they react to, instinctively, automatically, without control. This was the kind of energy that rewrites social hierarchy without a single word spoken. And they felt it, every single one of them. Remember how they used to talk over you, how they used to ignore your warnings, brush off your instincts, laugh at your ideas? That was back when they thought they understood you, when they believed they had you properly categorized. Back then, they thought you were predictable, manageable, harmless. But then came that moment, the moment where you didn't argue, didn't defend, didn't resist. You just responded in a way that exposed everything. Not with rage, not with volume, but with clarity. A clarity they weren't prepared for. Maybe it was the way you looked at someone and they felt their excuses crumble in their throat. Maybe it was the way you told the truth without flinching, and it broke through the illusions they were clinging to. Maybe it was the way you didn't bend, didn't fold, didn't shrink even an inch when they tried to push you. But whatever it was, it demolished every false narrative they had created about you. They saw something in you that they weren't supposed to see, because even you weren't fully aware of how intense it was. A level of inner strength you've built quietly, slowly, painfully. The strength they took for granted. The strength they thought was passivity, when in reality it was restraint. You weren't being submissive, you were being selective. You weren't withdrawing, you were observing. You weren't quiet, you were studying every move, every angle, every intention. And now that they've connected the dots, now that they can't deny what's right in front of them, they're scrambling. Those same people who used to treat you like a background character are now fighting among themselves over who gets to apologize first, who gets to clear the air, who gets to rewrite history by suddenly acting like they were always supportive. Pay attention to their behavior. Notice how quickly they switch tones. Notice the sudden sweetness in their voice. Notice how they're offering explanations no one asked for. Notice how they're checking your reactions like they're waiting for a verdict. That's not kindness. That's not growth. That's fear disguised as humility. They don't want to be on your bad side because they finally realized that being on your bad side doesn't come with explosions or revenge. It comes with something far worse: your absence, your detachment, your disinterest. They realized that the most dangerous thing you can do to someone isn't attack them, it's stop caring about them. And you did. You walked away emotionally, long before you walked away physically, and now they're left with the void your energy used to fill. Do you know why that terrifies them? Because they finally understand something. Your presence had been supporting them in ways they didn't appreciate. You stabilized the room. You absorbed tension. You prevented conflict. You guided conversations. You brought emotional intelligence they leaned on without even noticing. They assumed it was effortless for you, but it never was. And when you stopped doing it, everything around them started falling apart. Conversations became chaotic. Social dynamics became awkward. People started clashing. The environment became heavy. And that's when they realized something they never admitted before. You weren't just there. You were holding everything together. That's why they're switching sides. That's why they're suddenly treating you like some rare artifact. That's why they're whispering, watching, calculating. Because now they see what you are capable of when you're not dimming yourself for other people's comfort. They see the strength that was hiding behind your patience. They see the intelligence behind your quiet. They see the awareness behind your restraint. And it's hitting them in waves, each realization heavier than the last. No one likes to confront how wrong they were about someone. But watching you shift into this version of yourself forced them to confront it. They feel guilty, they feel embarrassed, they feel exposed. Because every time they look at you now, they're reminded of how deeply they misread you. They're reminded of how foolishly they believed in their own assumptions. They're reminded that the safe version of you was never real. It was just the version you allowed them to see. And now you're not allowing anything. You're simply existing. And your existence alone is enough to reorder the entire social landscape around you. Some of them are tiptoeing. Some of them are overcompensating. Some of them are suddenly acting like your biggest fans. Some of them are rehearsing their apologies in their head before they get the courage to say them out loud. But all of them are aware, painfully aware, that they can no longer treat you the way they did in the past. They're nervous because you changed. They're terrified because you didn't change. You just stopped pretending. They're switching sides because they see where the real strength is now. They see which direction the energy is moving. They see who's rising and who's falling. And no one wants to be on the wrong side of that. But there's something deeper underneath their panic, something they won't admit even to themselves. They're afraid that you've seen through them. They're afraid you know exactly who supported you and who sabotaged you. They're afraid you noticed the moments they doubted you, belittled you, overlooked you. And you did. You noticed everything. You just waited. You let time reveal what words could never express. And now they're wondering how you see them, what category you've placed them in, whether you trust them or not, whether you've already removed them from your inner world. And that fear is eating them alive, because you're not predictable anymore. You're not holding back anymore. You're not packaging yourself to fit their comfort anymore. They don't know what you'll say, what you'll do, how you'll respond, or whether you'll even bother responding at all. They don't know where you stand, and that's exactly what terrifies them. The truth is, you've stepped into a level of personal power where people don't just react to what you say. They react to what you might say. They react to what you might do. They react to what they think you're thinking. Your energy has become a psychological mirror, showing them their own insecurities, their own mistakes, their own misjudgments, and they hate it. But they can't escape it, because they can't escape you. Not the new you, the real you. And here's the part that's driving them insane. They know you're not angry. You're not seeking revenge. You're not trying to teach them a lesson. You don't need to. Your growth already did. And now they're scrambling, switching sides, battling guilt, fighting for a chance to redeem themselves. Not because you demanded it, but because their conscience won't let them stay on the other side anymore. And this is where the shift becomes almost uncomfortable for them. Because the more they watch you operate with this calm, centered, self-assured presence, the stronger the pressure inside them becomes. It's like every step you take forward tightens the grip around their pride, squeezing them until the apology they've been avoiding becomes the apology they're desperate to deliver. They can't stand the thought of being remembered as the ones who doubted you. They can't stand being the characters who misread you so deeply. They can't stand the idea that they chose the wrong side at the wrong time, only to witness you rising in real time. And now, instead of defending their choices, instead of pretending they were justified, they're slowly breaking down under the weight of their own embarrassment. Because the truth is simple. They didn't just misjudge you. They misjudged themselves. They thought you were easy to replace. They thought you were predictable. They thought you were someone whose value could be measured by their limited perception. They had no idea who they were dealing with. They had no idea how quickly the energy around you could shift when you detached emotionally and stepped fully into your own power. They had no idea how much of their stability depended on your presence, and now they're experiencing a strange mixture of regret and admiration. Regret because they mishandled you. Admiration because your evolution is impossible to deny. And that combination is eating them alive. They're wrestling with questions they never expected to ask themselves. Why did I distance myself from the one person who carried that kind of aura? How did I not see the potential when it was right in front of me? How did I let my insecurity push away someone who was clearly meant for more? These questions echo in their mind every time they see you making progress. Every time they hear your name in a positive conversation. Every time they watch you walk into a room with that unshakable confidence. Every time someone praises you. Every time your presence shifts the atmosphere. They feel a sting in their chest because they know, on some level, they contributed to the very transformation that now intimidates them. They fueled your growth without realizing it, and they can't handle that reality. So now they're switching sides. Not in a calculated strategic move, but in a panicked, subconscious retreat from their own guilt. They're trying to rewrite their role in your story. They're attempting to reposition themselves as supporters, as allies, as people who always believed in you. Even though you remember exactly how they reacted when you were at your lowest, they didn't just doubt you, they dismissed you. They didn't just underestimate you, they quietly rooted against you. They didn't just distance themselves, they distanced themselves right when you needed clarity, support, and consistency. And yet here they are, coming back with shaky smiles, softened tones, overly polite messages, cautious energy. Not because you demanded it, not because you confronted them, but because they no longer feel safe standing where they stood before. Your evolution changed the power dynamic completely. Now they're dealing with a version of you they're not equipped for. A version of you who doesn't chase, doesn't cling, doesn't repeat yourself, doesn't seek validation, doesn't need approval, doesn't fear distance. A version of you who learned how to breathe without them, and that scares them more than anything, because deep down, they always assumed you needed them more than they needed you. Now they're realizing how backwards that belief actually was. You were the anchor, you were the grounding force, you were the stable presence. You were the one who brought sincerity, depth, and emotional intelligence into the connection. And without you, they feel the instability they once projected onto you. They feel the emptiness they once accused you of having. They feel the confusion they once believed you created. They're waking up to the reality that it wasn't you, it was them. And that realization is brutal. Their ego wasn't ready to face someone who could evolve this fast. Their pride wasn't prepared to watch you glow in ways they never imagined. Their insecurity wasn't designed to handle your transformation. And now they're scrambling, trying to figure out how to re-enter your life without looking desperate, without sounding insincere, without admitting how deeply they regret underestimating you. But no matter how they rehearse the apology, no matter how they plan the conversation, no matter how they try to present themselves as self-reflective and mature, their energy exposes them. You can feel the guilt radiating off them. You can sense the shift in their behavior. You can tell they're trying to get close again. It's written in their body language. It's hidden in the pauses between their words. It's embedded in the hesitations before they speak. It's evident in the way they watch you now, carefully, respectfully, almost nervously. They're afraid of two things: losing access to you forever, and facing the truth of why they mistreated you in the first place. They thought you'd come crawling back. You didn't. They thought you'd shrink after they left. You expanded. They thought they held the upper hand. They never did. And now they're living through the consequences of their assumptions. They're witnessing the shift they never expected. People around them are questioning their previous behavior. People around them are noticing how your energy has strengthened while theirs has weakened. People are asking them, what happened between you two? And they have no respectable answer. Because they know if they tell the truth, they'll expose their insecurity, their immaturity, their lack of emotional depth. So instead they sit quietly with their guilt while pretending to be indifferent. But their energy betrays them every time they see you. That tension in their shoulders, that stiffness in their expression, that awkwardness in their presence. They're terrified you can see through them, and the truth is, you can. You see everything more clearly now. You see the way they shift their weight when they're near you. You see the way their eyes soften, the way their voice changes, the way their energy becomes calmer, almost apologetic. You see their hesitation when they try to speak. You see the microseconds of contemplation before they say your name. You see the emotional conflict happening internally. They want to apologize, but they're struggling with the order of operations. Should they explain first, or admit first, or soften the blow first, or test your openness first? They're running a mental simulation every time they plan to approach you. And that simulation always ends with the same conclusion: I can't avoid this forever. I have to face them. But they don't know how to face someone who has grown this much. They don't know how to approach someone who no longer lives in the emotional space they once created. They don't know how to speak to someone who has stepped into their power, their identity, their worth, and their clarity. They feel small around you now. Not because you make them feel small, but because your presence has become too honest for their past behavior to survive. They can't hide behind excuses anymore. They can't disguise their motives anymore. They can't pretend their choices were harmless. They know you felt everything they thought you didn't feel. They know you saw everything they thought you didn't see. They know you understood everything they thought you were too naive to understand. And that's why they're switching sides. Because being against you now feels unsafe. Because staying distant now feels humiliating. Because ignoring you now feels impossible. They're not trying to reconnect with the old version of you. They're trying to earn permission to stand near the new version of you. And here's the most ironic part. They're not fighting to apologize so you'll forgive them. They're fighting to apologize so they can forgive themselves. Because your transformation is the mirror they've been avoiding. Your growth reflects everything they suppressed. Your confidence exposes everything they hid. Your resilience reveals everything they lacked. You are the reminder of what they could have become if they had chosen courage instead of insecurity, effort instead of ego, honesty instead of manipulation. And that's why they're fighting over who gets to apologize first. Not because they suddenly became kind-hearted or self-aware, but because they can't carry the weight of their own conscience anymore. They're exhausted from pretending. They're tired of acting indifferent. They're drained from resisting the truth. Your energy has become too loud for them to ignore. And now, as they inch their way back toward you, trying to gauge your reaction, trying to judge the gates of your emotional boundaries, trying to see if you're open or closed, something even more fascinating is happening beneath the surface, a shift that will shape the next stage of this entire story. Because while they're analyzing you, reading your posture, studying your silence, overthinking every facial expression you make, you're watching them with a clarity they never expected you to have. You're not defensive, you're not guarded, you're not hostile, you're just observant, and that observant energy is what's tearing their ego apart. Because when someone has truly evolved, their presence doesn't fight, it reveals. And being revealed is the one thing they never prepared themselves for. They were ready for you to snap, ready for you to call them out, ready for you to list every mistake, every betrayal, every moment they made you doubt yourself. They rehearsed their counter-arguments. They prepared their justifications. They created backup explanations in case you confronted them. But you didn't. You didn't confront them. You didn't demand accountability. You didn't list offenses. You didn't bring up the past with that heavy emotional tone they expected from you. Instead, you stood there with that calm energy that says, I've outgrown the old version of me, and I've outgrown the old version of you, too. And that is exactly what terrifies them. Because now they realize they're not approaching the person they mistreated. You're a completely different force now. Your self-control unnerves them. Your emotional stability throws them off. Your distance isn't cold, it's dignified. Your boundaries aren't harsh, they're clear. And that clarity makes them feel exposed. Because for the first time, they're seeing the truth without filters, without their ego protecting them, without their excuses comforting them. You didn't become petty, you became powerful. You didn't become angry, you became aware. And nothing scares guilty people more than someone who evolved without needing them. So now they're stuck in this strange internal tug-of-war. One part of them wants to rush toward you with a dramatic apology. Another part wants to stay back and pretend nothing happened. Another part wants to rebuild the connection slowly. Another part wants to act like they never left. They don't know which version of themselves is safe to bring to you. Their mind is spinning with possibilities. Their pride is weakening. Their excuses are collapsing. Their heart is restless. Because they know they can't undo what they did. They can't erase the energy they brought. They can't rewrite the choices they made. They can only face the consequences of who they were. And that terrifies them. What's even more fascinating is that they're not just switching sides emotionally, they're switching alliances socially too. People who once laughed at you are now defending you. People who once doubted you are now praising you. People who once dismissed you are now speaking highly of you. And the ones who hurt you the most are watching these social dynamics change, watching opinions shift, watching conversations evolve. They're realizing you didn't just grow privately, you grew publicly. And that public shift is what's making them sweat. Because now they're not just apologizing to you, they're apologizing to their own reputation. Their pride can't handle being the only ones who got it wrong. Their ego can't survive being seen as the person who underestimated the one everyone else is now admiring. This is why they're suddenly trying to get close again. This is why they're suddenly looking for ways to initiate small talk. This is why they're carefully observing your mood before they speak. This is why their voice softens when they address you. This is why they become overly polite in conversations. They're trying to figure out one thing: how much do you know? Not about what they did, but about how deeply they regret it. Because regret leaks through energy, and their energy has been leaking non-stop. They're terrified you can feel their guilt. Terrified you can sense their embarrassment. Terrified you can see the inner conflict they're trying to hide behind neutral expressions. They're terrified of being transparent around you now. Because transparency means vulnerability. Vulnerability means truth. And truth means they have to face who they actually were toward you, not who they pretended to be. And while all of this is happening, something even more unexpected is unfolding behind the scenes. They're competing with each other. The same people who once united against you, bonded over their assumptions about you, laughed at your expense, or silently rooted against you. Those same people are now competing for your forgiveness, competing for your attention, competing for your approval, competing for the privilege of being let back into your world. They don't admit it out loud, but they feel it. They feel the rivalry. They feel the urgency. They feel the pressure to act before someone else beats them to the apology. Because now, apologizing to you isn't just about clearing their conscience. It's about securing a connection that they suddenly realize was always valuable. You've become the person whose presence is rare, whose energy is grounding, whose growth is undeniable. And in their mind, losing you permanently feels like losing access to a version of themselves they always wanted to be, but never had the courage to cultivate. You represent something they lack, something they admire, something they secretly wished they could emulate. And now that you've detached, now that you've flourished, now that you've redefined yourself without them, they feel the heaviness of their own stagnation. You're not chasing them anymore, and that forces them to chase themselves, to confront themselves, to question themselves. They're seeing aspects of their personality they never wanted to acknowledge. They're recognizing patterns they always denied. They're feeling the consequences of their own emotional immaturity. You were the mirror that made them uncomfortable, and now that same mirror makes them want to fix what they broke. Not because they deserve a place in your life, but because they can't stand who they were when they mistreated you. And as the days go by, the tension inside them grows. They replay old conversations. They rethink their decisions. They remember moments where they dismissed your kindness, ignored your intuition, misread your intentions. They're haunted by the clarity of hindsight, haunted by the thought that they pushed away the very person who respected them genuinely, and haunted by the realization that you didn't need to punish them. You let life do that work for you. They can feel the distance now, not the physical one, the energetic one. That distance isn't angry, it isn't bitter, it isn't closed off. It's simply evolved. It's the distance of someone who no longer operates from insecurity, someone who doesn't beg for connection, someone who recognizes their worth, someone who doesn't bend for people who weren't willing to stand next to them. And that distance is the final blow to their ego. Because your detachment isn't rejection, it's liberation. And the moment they felt that liberation is the moment they realized something terrifying. Because now, as they hover on the edge of approaching you, their hesitation thickens, their indecision sharpens, their nerves taut like a wire about to snap. They're debating not only how to speak, but if they even deserve to. And in that hesitation lies the most powerful leverage of all, the silent authority of your energy. You don't need to speak to assert dominance. You don't need to explain, justify, or demand. Your mere presence, fully anchored in self-awareness, shifts the balance, makes them question everything they once took for granted, and forces them to confront the consequences of their miscalculations. And those consequences are terrifying to them, because every interaction they now attempt feels like walking on a floor that could collapse beneath them at any moment. Every word they rehearse, every gesture they plan, every attempt to seem sincere feels fragile, transparent, and inadequate. They are acutely aware that you've evolved far beyond the rules they once used to manipulate or predict you. And that awareness fills them with a mix of awe, guilt, and primal fear. They are scrambling to regain footing, and yet they can't, because the energy you radiate is both unshakable and unpredictable. They expected weakness, they expected neediness, they expected the old patterns, the familiar rhythm of someone who tolerated their indecision, their ego, their arrogance. But none of that exists anymore. You've become a force they cannot bargain with, cannot control, cannot predict. And that is why they're switching sides, not out of respect, not purely out of regret, but because your energy exposed their limitations, and they are terrified of being left behind, irrelevant, or worse, seen for the shallow versions of themselves they allowed to exist. And the fight begins. Not a fight of words or aggression, but a subtle, almost invisible competition to be the first to reach you, to earn that first opportunity to reconcile, to make amends. One by one, they measure their own guilt against the others, comparing who wronged you the most, who hesitated the longest, who missed the clearest signals. They jockey for position in a way that is almost ridiculous to observe, and yet it is terrifyingly effective because it's powered by their conscience, by the part of them that finally refuses to ignore the truth. They can't pretend any longer. They can't delay. They can't spin excuses that even they believe. And all of it centers on you, not because you demanded it, not because you created leverage, but because your presence, your evolution, and your energy forced a reckoning. The energy that once intimidated them quietly, persistently, now dominates the room without effort. They feel it in the weight of your gaze, in the calm certainty of your movements, in the unspoken confidence that suggests you've anticipated all of their inner turmoil. They realize that apologizing isn't enough, not because you need it, but because they need it, to reconcile their own sense of integrity with the reality they previously refused to acknowledge. And as they move closer, fumbling through their words, attempting to calibrate every syllable, every intonation, they discover something even more powerful. You're still the observer. You're still measuring their sincerity, their readiness, their awareness. You've allowed the door to be open, but you hold the key to how fully they can step through it. And that knowledge, the subtle yet absolute control it implies, is a force more terrifying than anger, more disarming than confrontation. They're switching sides, and they're doing it in real time, in front of you. And with every gesture, every tone, every hesitation, they are proving how deeply your growth unsettled them. They're aware now that this isn't just a personal evolution, it's a social recalibration. The people around them notice the dynamic, the energy, the subtle shift in authority, the way their eyes track you differently. They notice the quiet reverence, the caution, the careful measuring of words and movements. And in that observation, your influence spreads. Your energy doesn't just intimidate, it forces reflection, introspection, self-analysis. You're not creating fear by threat. You're creating fear by inevitability. The inevitability that they must confront their own inadequacies, their own poor judgment, their own underestimation of your presence. And as they compete, jockeying for the first opportunity to speak, to apologize, to redeem themselves, they reveal more than they intend. They reveal the truth of their past misjudgments. They reveal the depth of their fear, the fragility of their ego, the extent of their envy, and the urgency of their need for approval, not from you, but from the part of themselves that recognizes they missed the mark. And while they scramble, while they measure each other, while they debate the order in which to approach, the thing they cannot escape is the reality that none of this is about manipulating you. You cannot be manipulated anymore. Your energy, your presence, your growth, these things are beyond their control. And the realization strikes them like a blow. For all their planning, for all their strategizing, for all their pride, you are the uncontested authority in this dynamic now. You've observed quietly, patiently, strategically. You've allowed space for them to reveal themselves. And as they reveal themselves, scrambling for redemption, apologizing, overcompensating, competing, they're showing you everything you needed to see. Not just that they understand your value now, but that they recognize the consequences of underestimating it. That recognition, the raw, undeniable truth, is intoxicating and disarming. It demonstrates the power of silent dominance, of energy that doesn't need to assert itself loudly, that doesn't need to threaten, that simply exists fully, immovably, unmistakably. And now comes the final act of their internal war. They are lined up, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, each one trying to navigate the correct approach. Who speaks first? Who admits more? Who softens? Who emphasizes their understanding? Who demonstrates insight without overcompensating? They are measuring, calculating, overthinking, agonizing, and all of it is visible, tangible, and impossible to ignore. They're watching each other, aware that if they stumble, someone else will win the privilege of making amends first. That awareness makes them jittery, nervous, almost frantic, yet everything is filtered through the overwhelming respect, fear, and awe your energy commands. And they can't escape it. No strategy can circumvent it. No planning can overcome it. No excuse can reverse it. They are utterly at the mercy of the energy you projected long before they ever realized it existed. They are switching sides, yes, but not in a chaotic or random fashion. They are doing so in a pattern dictated by your presence, your evolution, your clarity. Their apologies, their gestures, their attempts to reclaim access are choreographed not by their egos, but by the unconscious pressure your energy applies. They feel compelled to act not because they are brave, but because they are confronted with the undeniable truth. Standing against you is no longer possible. Standing indifferent is no longer viable. Standing casual is no longer sustainable. Your energy shattered the illusion that they could remain unaffected. And now, every approach, every step, every word they muster is a reflection of that realization. And as all this unfolds, the most astonishing phenomenon occurs. They begin to mirror your energy without even knowing it. Their voices soften, their posture shifts, their tone becomes careful. Their attempts at control dissolve because control is irrelevant in your presence. Their competitiveness becomes a silent acknowledgement of your authority. They are fighting to re-enter your sphere, not because they have mastered it, but because your growth and presence made them realize how desperately They had underestimated the person they once tried to manipulate, dismiss, or ignore. They are humbled. They are disoriented. They are overpowered, not by words, not by confrontation, not by threat, but by the undeniable force of your energy, your calm, your clarity, your power. And that, finally, is why they're switching sides. Not because they planned it, not because they plotted it, not because they calculated it. They are switching sides because your presence demanded it. Your evolution demanded it. Your energy demanded it. Every hesitant step toward you, every overthought gesture, every carefully rehearsed word, it is proof that they cannot resist the gravitational pull of someone who is entirely centered, entirely aware, entirely unshakable. And now, the stage is set. They are competing, they are apologizing, they are acknowledging, they are realizing. And while they battle for your attention, your acceptance, your permission, the reality is, they are witnessing the power they always feared, but never understood. The power you always held, now fully revealed, fully embodied, fully alive.